I've partnered with others on over $150 million worth of multifamily, and today I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide to help you buy apartments. Hey, my name is John Casman, and I am the owner and founder of Casman Capital Group and the host of the Multifamily Insights podcast, as well as the Multifamily Mastery podcast on the Best Ever Real Estate Investing Advice podcast network. Listen, I've been investing for about 10 years. And one of the things that I get from a lot of investors is they're trying to figure out how to scale into multifamily, particularly larger multifamily or commercial multifamily. So residential multifamily is anything 2 to 4 units. But once you get to 5 units and up, that's considered commercial larger apartment buildings. So if you want to invest in commercial multifamily, we're going to break down those 9 steps right here, right now. All right, step number one. Well, the first thing you have to do is figure out where you're going to look for these deals. That's right. You have to identify your markets for investing. Now, markets fall into 2 buckets. There's the macro market, which is the MSA or the city. Think Chicago, Charlotte, Cincinnati, Nashville, Houston. So that's the larger metro area. For a lot of investors, you're going to start in your own backyard. If you live in a city, check out that market. Why not invest back home? But for some people, their backyard may not be ideal for a couple of different reasons. Maybe the metrics don't make sense. Maybe it's not a landlord-friendly market to invest in, or maybe it's very expensive. So either way, you have to figure out which market you're going to invest in. Once you've identified the city, now you're going to identify the submarket. Now, this gets a little more tricky and it's really dependent on the market. But what I will tell you is every city has desirable parts and less desirable parts. We typically want to invest in desirable parts or areas that are starting to transition and see a change where they're becoming more and more desirable. If you're looking for help and resources to help you figure out which markets to invest in or how to find the best submarkets in your city, we put together a free guide. It's 35 hacks to find the best markets and submarkets across the country. Let's move on to step number 2. The second step is to determine your budget. That's right. How much capital are you working with? Do you have $50,000? Do you have $500,000? Or do you have $5 million? This is really going to be important because before you start shopping, you have to know how much money you have to invest. Now, this may be a challenge for a lot of investors because you may not have a whole lot of liquid cash for this investment. With that said, there are strategies that you can utilize which make apartment investment really, really attractive. As a matter of fact, it's a strategy that I use to partner with others on over $150 million worth of apartments. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but for right now, you want to understand what is the budget you have for this investment. Whether it's your capital or other partners that you're working with, you want to identify how much capital you have to invest in so you can understand the deal size that you're going to be going after. So identify your budget and make sure you know what you're looking for and the price range. Step 3, what's your deal criteria? What are you looking for in an investment property? Is it based on unit count? Is it based on age? Is it based on certain features? You have to get really clear here because when you go out shopping and looking for a property, you want to make sure you understand what a deal actually looks like beyond just the numbers, but really understanding the property characteristics. Some people like trophy assets. These are nicer, newer properties where you can brag and tell your friends, hey, look at this property I own. And some people could care less about that and they only want to invest in properties that make a ton of money, great cash flow, and really pay the bills. So they're going to be paying way more attention to the financials and they're less concerned about the quality of the neighborhood. Every investor is different. This is where it's important for you to decide what kind of properties you want to own, what kind of properties you want to manage. And ultimately, this is going to help you identify your deal criteria so you can move on to the next step. Step 4, now that we have our market, now that we have our budget, now that we have our deal criteria, now we're going to actually build out our team. Because real estate investing, particularly when it comes to commercial real estate and apartments, it is a team sport. And you hear this phrase thrown out there to the point where it loses its meaning. But here's what it really means. No successful commercial real estate investor does it by themselves. See, in real estate, when it comes to single family houses, you could absolutely do it all by yourself. You could be the one that finds the property. You can do all the capitals. You could be the only investor. You can do the renovations yourself. You could be the property manager. You can be a solo entrepreneur on single family properties. That is not the case with commercial apartments. Typically speaking, you're going to have a property manager, a contractor, a maintenance technician. You're going to have brokers that you work with, leasing agents. You're going to have a team of people that are going to help you get this deal, not just across the finish line, but to actually operate this asset once you get this thing under ownership. So you want to build out your team. There are a few key team members that you have to buy apartments. One is going to be a broker. Now, unlike in the residential space, commercial brokers tend to work more for the seller. Okay. So again, in the residential world, you may have your own buyer's agent. The seller would have his own seller's agent. That is not the case typically when it comes to commercial real estate. Usually in the apartment game, you're going to have one agent that represents the seller, and they're going to send that deal out to a number of investors, and they are going to be the dual agent in many cases. Now, this isn't always the case, but a lot of times that is what you're going to see. So it is up to you to pick someone who actually understands the market, understands the deals, and can help navigate the process, especially if you're a first-time investor. You want someone who's going to be kind and patient and work with you through the process. Now, if you are new to the space, a key member you want to have on your team is somebody who has that experience. This could be a partner, it could be a coach or a mentor, it could be someone else, but you want to have someone who has the skills, the knowledge, the experience to guide you through the process. And it's not just to guide you through and to calm your nerves. Your bank, your lender, your other partners, they're going to want to see that somebody has experience doing this deal. And this is a big mistake first-time investors make. If you don't have that background and you don't have that experience, it is really difficult to build credibility in commercial real estate. So lean on the expertise of someone else, add them to your team, and that's going to make it a little bit easier to get these deals done. So the next person you need on your team is going to be a property manager who's going to actually manage the properties. Now, you may be thinking, I'll just do it myself. In some cases, that may be feasible, but a lot of times, especially if you're doing commercial deals and you're getting a loan, if you are a first-time property owner and first-time property manager, the banks and lenders will not allow that. So you have to check with your lender to make sure you understand whether or not you can self-manage or whether or not you're going to have to bring on a third-party property manager. So you want your broker, you want a partner or a mentor or coach, somebody with experience on that team, and you also want a property manager. Now, there are other roles that are certainly critical here, but those are the three main ones you need to get started through this evaluation process. And hey, speaking of teams, it's really important to surround yourself with people who are playing the game at a higher level. This is why we launched our Multifamily Mastery Mastermind, where we connect with like-minded individuals, we share deals that we're working on, insights from those transactions, and help other people grow and scale their multifamily portfolio. If you are interested in learning more about the Multifamily Mastery Program, just go to casmancapital.com/mastermind. All right, after step 4, we move on to step 5. Now we've got our market selected, we've got our budget lined up, we have our deal criteria, and we have our key team members. It's time to start looking at deals and analyzing them. All right, so these brokers are going to start sending you deals. Your job now is to analyze them and evaluate which ones are a good fit for your investing criteria. So you're going to take that and analyze those deals. Some people use a spreadsheet like Excel. Some people create their own custom model. It really doesn't matter. There's lots of different ways to analyze it, but ultimately you have to make sure that the deals you're looking at are going to deliver the returns you want for your deal criteria. Once you start this process, it's important to stay patient. You know, a lot of investors get frustrated because they start analyzing this deal that the broker sent, and they're frustrated that the deal doesn't pencil out. The numbers don't work. It's not a great deal. Listen, a broker's not going to send you their best deal if they don't know you that well. This is a relationship-driven business, and you have to earn that trust and earn that reputation as someone that broker can depend on in order to get those great deals. The key here is to analyze the deals that are sent over and see if you can figure out how to find one that meets your investing criteria. Now, if this is a bit of a challenge for you and you're not really sure what to look for, we put together a free guide. It's called 7 Questions You Must Ask Before Investing in Apartments. You can check out that guide. We'll put a link to it in the description, but it's also on our website, casmancapital.com/7questions. And in this guide, we're going to help give you the framework of the kind of things you should be thinking about when analyzing these deals and looking at these opportunities. So make sure you check that out if you want to learn more about the right questions you should be asking. So we're starting to look at deals, we're analyzing them, and you find one that makes sense. Well, now we move on to step 6. That's right, we're going to start submitting offers. So typically speaking, when you submit an offer, there are 2 ways to do it. The first is what's called a letter of intent. And in a letter of intent, or an LOI, you are going to draft up the framework of an offer. So this is typically a 1-page or 2-page document where you lay out the purchase price, you lay out the closing time frame, you lay out the down payment or the equity source, any key terms that are needed for that seller to decide whether or not they like your offer and want to accept it. So that's the first way. The second way is skipping all that and going directly to a contract or a purchase sales agreement or PSA. So in this PSA, this is a sales contract. This is legally binding, which is different from the LOI, which is typically not legally binding. So in a purchase sale agreement, this is going to be in contract form. It's typically written based on the state laws and regulations. You're going to put in the purchase price, you're going to put in the key terms, the same information, but it's going to be in contract form. And in this case, if that owner accepts, they just need to sign, and now you are officially under contract on your new apartment acquisition. All right, we got the paperwork done. We are under contract. Congratulations. But not so fast, my friend. All right, we've got a few really big steps we have to do before we own this new apartment building. Okay, so we're under contract. The big thing that you're going to go through next is making sure you have all the capital to acquire this property. So what does that look like? Most investors, even if you have all the cash, most of us are going to use a loan of some sort because we don't want to tie up all of our money in a single deal. We also understand the difference between good debt and bad debt. Okay, with good debt, you're using that to invest in assets, things that appreciate in value, things that produce income. Investing in apartment buildings is absolutely good debt. This is different than buying a car or having credit card debt or student loan debt, things like that. So in most cases, this is important to have good debt and to make sure you are securing a loan for the property. So with this, you may have banking relationships that you can rely on, or many investors will use a commercial mortgage broker, and that commercial mortgage broker will go out there and talk to the banks on your behalf, bringing them the deal and identifying the best fit for your investment deal. Now, going back to building your team, this is another person you want to have on that team as you're looking to grow and scale your portfolio. Now, assuming we can go out there, we find a lender who likes our deal, who is willing to lend most of the money. Typically, they're going to lend anywhere between 60% and say 70%. Back in the day, they went up to like 80 or even 85% LTV, which is loan to value ratio. Meaning if you bought a property for $1 million, that lender might go up to $850,000 on the loan, or 85% of it, and you would only be required to bring 15% or $150,000. In today's environment, they're not really lending quite that high. It's a lot less than that actually. But either way, you'll want to understand how much is the bank looking for you to bring to the table and how much are they going to provide for you in that loan. Once you understand that and your capital requirements, now you can move on to step 8, due diligence. This is a time to make sure your business plan actually makes sense and the property really does fit your deal criteria, and you've identified any hiccups that could throw a monkey wrench in your business plans. So with due diligence, there's really 2 components of it. The first is going to be the physical inspection. This is looking at the property and understanding the physical condition of the major mechanical things like the plumbing, the electrical, the HVAC, the roof, the big ticket items that can absolutely crush your deal if you had to replace these things. And then the second part of this is also looking at the property performance itself, the financials, the rent roll, the T12. The T12 is simply just the trailing 12 months of operations or the financials. But you want to understand the financial performance of this property because you want to understand what you're taking over day one. So going through your due diligence is really critical to understand both the physical property itself and the state that it's in, any deferred maintenance that may be needed to the property, but also the physical performance of the property. How is it operating today? What do you need to address as a new owner? And ensuring that the business plan that you put together, the deal that you analyzed, is actually the deal that you are going to be buying. Now we move on to the fun part. Step 9. All right, we're at the fun part. We've already identified our market. We've put together our budget. We've clarified our deal criteria. We put together our team. We've analyzed deals. We submitted offers and got that offer accepted. We have now secured our loan. We've gone through our due diligence. Everything looks good. We are all set to close on the property. Yes, step 9 is simply closing on the asset. But closing requires a few things. First of all, this is when you come to the closing table to sign all the documents. You're going to wire the funds necessary for the down payment and to acquire the property. You're going to secure your loan. You're going to go ahead and get the keys for the property. You're going to get any key contracts or anything else you did not already receive in the process. And once you are done at the closing table and you take title, you are now the proud owner of a brand new to you apartment community. And now your job is to actually run it. So take a moment, you celebrate, you feel good, pop champagne, whatever it is you want to do. But the real work starts after you take possession, because you have to make sure you're delivering a quality living experience for those residents and actually execute on your business plan. Now, if this is something that you want help with or want to learn more about, again, we help people all the time. There's 2 ways you can do this. You can decide to be active, go through the 9 steps we just laid out, and maybe you need a coach, maybe you need a mentor, maybe you want to surround yourself with other people on the team. We would love to have a chat with you to see how we could help. The other option, though, is you may decide, you know what? I don't really have time and energy to do all those 9 steps, but I'm looking to align with someone who does. Well, great for you. We offer passive investing opportunities. And this is a way where you can invest with us on some of our deals if you qualify. If you want to learn more about that, just set up a free consultation, quick 15-minute chat, and we'll learn more about you, our fit, and whether or not this is a good opportunity. But either way, you want to make sure you're using apartments to build your wealth going forward. If you like this video, check out our other videos on apartment syndications and multifamily investing.